So when Saddam Hussein took power in the late 70s, he was at war with these guys. The Ayatollah of Iran, who in 1979 had an Iranian revolution and brought a theocracy into the Republic of Iran. And they were constantly at war with each other. So Saddam Hussein, having been at war with the Iranians, decided to support the Arab separatists in Khuzestan, giving them Iraqi passports. So, using Iraqi passports, Owen and 300 members of the DRFLA, otherwise known as the Arab separatism in Khuzestan, arrived in London on the 31st of March 1980. Owen, who was 27 from Khuzestan, was there with a few other guys. They were staying in Earl's Court in West London. They told their landlord that they would no longer need the apartment since they were going back to Iraq. So, in the morning of April 3rd at 9:30, they left their apartment. Right before they went to the Iranian embassy, they collected their firearms and submachine guns. According to a 2014 academic study in the Iran-Iraq War, the attackers were recruited and trained by the Iraqi government as part of a campaign of subversion against Iran, which included sponsorship of several separatist movements as themselves. On the first day of the siege, at 11:30 a.m., Wednesday 30th of April 1980, the DRFLA terrorists entered the Iranian building on Princess Gate, South Kensington. The gunmen quickly overpowered Police Constable Trevor Locke of the Metropolitan Police Diplomatic Protection Group. Locke was carrying a concealed Smith & Wesson .38 caliber revolver, but was unable to draw it before he was overpowered. Although he did manage to press the panic button on his radio, Locke was later frisked, but the gunman conducting the search did not find the constable's weapon. He remained in possession of the revolver, and to keep it concealed, he refused to remove his coat, which he told the gunman was to preserve his image as a police officer. The terrorists demanded the release of their brethren in Iranian prisons who were fighting for the independence of Khuzestan province. They also demanded safe passage outside of the United Kingdom. The British government quickly decided that safe passage would not be granted and a siege ensued. Also, at the time, the British government were not on good terms with the Iranian government, so such ability to make the Iranians release their own political prisoners seemed very unlikely. Under the leadership of the greatest Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Margaret Thatcher, it was decided that the United Kingdom could not provide safe passage, so therefore the police would deal with the negotiations with the terrorists, while the SAS, the Special Air Service, would be prepared for a rescue mission if the negotiations failed. The SAS' original plan was to give them a bus, and then from the bus, they would raid the bus, kill the terrorists, and save the hostages. But eventually this plan didn't work through, because at the end they realized that they would have to storm the embassy instead. Since the bus was out of the question, what they did is they remade the embassy grounds using cardboard, and they trained where each team of the SAS would go in to kill the terrorists. These are actually one of the most difficult terrains to actually work in, where it's actually an urban environment, because of how close you're actually working with your teammates, and also how the terrorists could be very close to the hostages. It is very difficult for people to shoot the terrorists and not shoot the hostages, and it's also even more difficult to prevent friendly fire. And the SAS were training for this more and more. The idea was to use explosives to blow up the windows and then charge the building inside. Negotiations with the terrorists had failed, so the British government had no choice but to send in the SAS right after the terrorists had killed a hostage. And at this point, there was no turning back for the SAS.
That was a bomb. That was a bomb.
explosion ripped through the...
So this is a very tense situation. At any moment, a terrorist, if they realize the SAS are in there, they lose the element of surprise, and that nothing will stop them from killing the hostages. So, he just gets in a gun battle. This is actually one of the... Oh, there's Trevor Locke fighting with Owen the terrorist. Again, Trevor Locke, because of his actions during this whole ordeal, actually got accommodations from the government of the United Kingdom for his valor in this whole situation. See how close they are. It is very difficult. If you don't have that trigger discipline, you can shoot one of your buddies. Also, you see as well how when he shot Owen the terrorist, he took a second or two. Now, I saw in a documentary about the SAS that they actually trained for that. They actually trained to stop and look at the situation for a second or two to decide whether to shoot or not. I haven't seen, I don't know of any other special forces that does that either. So now they're getting all the hostages out. Now, just because they're getting all the hostages out doesn't mean that everything is clear and safe. Because there could still be a terrorist among the hostages, either one trying to escape, or even worse, maybe has a grenade or some kind of explosive device and takes himself with the other guys. Again, this is really, really close. One of the difficult things here is when a terrorist holds a hostage, and you really want to get that clear shot. They got that clear shot directly. And see, there's one terrorist there hiding. And again, they're trying to just clear the building. And you always have to be vigilant as well in the situation. You never know who else is going to be around. You have as much intelligence as you can, but you can't always rely on the intelligence you have. Because sometimes intelligence is wrong. Or sometimes there's intelligence that's missing that wasn't given in the briefings. So you always have to prepare for the stuff that you haven't even thought would happen. So there you go. Now remember, these guys have looked at photos of all the terrorists and know exactly what they look like. And here he spots one of them among the hostages trying to escape. But looks like he had a grenade in his hand.
He's got a grenade!
They clear the scene, make sure there's no one else around. The pin is in. So they move forward, take all the hostages. I haven't seen any other special forces do this in hostage situations, but with the SAS in particular, when they secure hostages outside of a situation like this, they tend to zip tie them. Again, now some people may sound, I mean, this seems a little cruel because they went through this whole ordeal, but they say this is for their own safety because they still have to verify who the people are. So the whole assault ended in just a few minutes on May 5th, 1980. 2 hostages were killed, one prior to the assault and one during. 2 hostages wounded during the assault, and 1 SAS soldier was wounded. 5 terrorists were killed, 1 was captured. PC Trevor Locke was regarded as a hero, and he received the George Medal Award, the United Kingdom's second highest civil honor, for his conduct during the siege. Also, Warrant Officer Class 1 Tommy Goodyear was awarded the Queen's Gallantry Medal for his part in the assault, which he shot dead a terrorist who apparently was about to throw a grenade amongst the hostages. After the operation concluded, the staff sergeant, who was caught in his abseil rope, was treated at the St. Stephen's Hospital in Fulham. The only surviving terrorist, Fauzi Nijad, was arrested and sentenced to life in prison, but later he was paroled in 2008. He resides in the UK, but he was not given asylum status.
With a charge. However, by the time our charge was in place and the charge upstairs had gone off, already it was the second floor was burning. So what I had to do was I had to give the command not to blow the charge and pull the frame charge away from the door. Of course, my other guys, but I've got the mission that's still clear in my head, but I'm a Lance Corporal. So that's exactly what I did. We pulled the charge away, threw it to one side, made it safe, and I got Bob to take out the sledgehammer. He smashed in the window to the library, and then we entered through the library. Our 6 guys went in, followed by the other 4. They went in, we cleared the library first of all, and my job was to make sure that the ground floor was secure. That was my job. All the other teams were doing the same on 6 floors. Some were abseiling into position, some went down ladders, some went through windows. The idea was to attack all the points at once, as quickly as possible, and clear 56 rooms on 6 levels.
Myself, John Michaelis. I think everybody knows me as Mac. Spent 23 years in the British Army, 6.5 engineers and 16.5 Special Air Service Regiment. Most people would have heard of some of my exploits, namely the Iranian embassy, where I was sort of captured on film, as you might say, going in through the front window without being asked. I've served practically every country in the world while I was with the regiment. Seen quite a few things, some good, some not so good, but at the end of the day I like to think I came away a better person, having been involved in these things. I must say I did enjoy myself while I was in the regiment. Made a lot of good friends and met a lot of strange and wonderful people, and basically had a real good time.
Hey guys, if you like my video and want to see more like this, please comment, like, and subscribe.